Hi everyone, this is Alexander Lim, and welcome to Author Story, where every episode we speak to various authors on various topics of interest. For this episode, I'm interviewing Chamin Ajjan, who is a clinical director and founder of Chamin Ajjan Psychotherapy. She is also a licensed clinical social worker by New York State to diagnose, create treatment plans, and practice psychotherapy. She also uses cognitive behavioral therapy in her work with people. And she's also the author of this week's featured book, Seeking Soulmate, Ditch the Dating Game and Find Real Connection, which you can check out by clicking on the link below. So, Shamin, welcome to Author Story. Thanks for being our guest.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Alex.
Cool, you're welcome. So, to start off, Shamin, what made you decide to write Seeking Soulmate?
So I love this story because it's not the typical one.
All right.
Um, as a psychotherapist, it's always great to have a book to, show credibility. And I had always
Okay.
dreamed of writing a book. But, I'm a busy mom. I have my practice. I had all these things going on. I never really had mapped out how I was going to write a book. And an acquisitions editor from Parallax Press, which is my publishing company, saw my blog and loved it and contacted me and said, "Hey, would you ever like to write a book? Have you thought about writing a book?" And I got off of the phone with this woman and went to my husband and we laughed about it. And I said, "She
Mhm.
wants me to write a book." And he said,
Yeah,
"Write a
right. Uh-huh.
write a book." And I said, "Okay, I
Okay.
guess I'm going to write
All
a
right,
book."
cool. And that's how that okay, it's cool. So that's how it happened. So
That's
ab-
what happened.
about seeking soulmate, I mean, there are a lot of books out there about dating and all that stuff. What is it about seeking soulmate that would make someone want to pick it up?
Well, I really hope that I wrote it in a way that all of these tools, these practical and useful and evidence-based tools, are easy to digest and that it's fun. I didn't want to write a stuffy book. I wanted to write something that was relatable
Hmm.
and that used my own personal experiences as well as my clinical experiences. All of the wonderful clients that I've had over the years who have come to me not necessarily for dating,
Hmm.
but if you're single and you're in therapy, inevitably you're going to be talking about dating. And so
Hmm.
I've had numerous people come into my office and the topic turns to dating. And I've got a wealth of clinical vignettes and experiences that I add to this book. And hopefully, they're relatable characters that can help you to kind of see some of the struggles that you might be having and allow you to be able to become more aware of what it is that needs to be the change so that you have a more healthier and effective way of dating.
Right, right. Okay, so okay, got that. So I guess dating is a big common concern among a lot of people. And I think I read somewhere, I think maybe you may have given this figure, like the dating industry is like 2 billion US dollars, is it not?
Yeah, it's huge,
It's huge.
and it's huge because everybody does it at some point, unless you're in an arranged marriage situation, which
All
has
right.
its own merits, um, but has its own drawbacks as well. If you're not in that situation, eventually you're going to be entering this dating game,
Right.
and it is unique in that it's not unique because it's one of the more common experiences that we all have,
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of the most vulnerable experiences
Mm,
that you can have. You are putting yourself into a situation where rejection is built into the process.
right. Okay. So have you dealt with both men and women in your practice?
Sure, I've dealt with men, I've dealt with women, I've dealt with um, gay, straight,
Right.
polyamorous couples.
Uh-huh.
I've dealt with couples who are, or people who are older, people who are divorced, people
Hmm.
who are single parents. I've seen, people who are interested in, who had trouble because they're wanting to date either within their own culture or outside of their own culture or
Right.
religion. So I've seen it all across the board, and I really do hope that I have, you can't touch everything, but that everybody kind of sees that these principles are relatable no matter who you are, no matter what your gender is, no matter where you are in your life.
Right. Okay. Got that. So, how do different people approach dating? Like, say, how do women approach dating compared to see how men approach dating? I'm thinking like objectives, what they want, that sort of thing.
Well, I think that men and women both have a lot of the same pitfalls
Hmm.
when you date. I think there are some things that men tend to do more and that women tend to do, but across the board, I think some of the common mistakes that both that men and women are making are they're similar.
Hmm.
I think one of the hugest things that I see people having a struggle with is wanting your partner or the person that you're dating to have qualities maybe that you don't even possess yourself. So people kind of going into relationships not whole, and
Hmm.
not healthy, and looking for that other person to maybe fill that void. Or maybe even it's you want somebody who has it all together, has a good credit score, has
Hmm.
a car, has a great job, and
Right.
you're
Right.
still home with your mom and your dad and don't have a job, and are very much in debt. So
Mm.
I think that happens. Both men and women do that. I think that one of the other struggles is on both sides, either feeling like you need to sleep with the person
Hmm.
too quickly, or wanting to sleep with the person too quickly.
Okay.
I think that there's nothing wrong with having a sexual connection, but I think when you sleep with somebody too quickly, that lust then mimics love, and you think that you have something, a foundation there, and it's a little bit of an illusion that you've created based on the love hormone oxytocin that's present instead of on commonalities, instead of on real foundation and a real connection.
Mm. All right. Well, you mentioned that people sort of like look for a partner to fill the void within themselves. This seems to actually be a common conversation, culturally speaking. What,
Yeah.
yeah, what's the sort of thing that, that's the source of this or that keeps it going?
I think people are you struggle with being able to look at themselves. You want it's painful. It's painful to look at maybe the things that are missing in your life, or maybe how you are contributing to some of the problems in your life, or really taking a hard, cold look at what it is that's missing in your life, and the things that you need to change, or the things that you need to improve about yourself. And it's much easier to externalize that and say, my life would be much better if I had this person to take care of me, or if I had this person to, spend time with, instead of, investing in yourself, instead of learning how to improve yourself, instead of being whole on your own. And when you do that, when you enter a relationship and you're not whole, or you're looking for someone else to fill that void,
Hmm.
eventually that relationship is going to crumble. Eventually, there's going to be problems in that relationship, because that's not the other person's role to complete you. It's the
Hmm.
other person's role to add something to your life, but not um, to make you whole.
Mm. Okay, all right. So just so our listeners might be aware about this, what are the things you've seen that happen when this sort of like fill the other's void kind of relationship happens? What eventually takes place?
Eventually, the other person feels resentful.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like you are a burden to them. They
Mm-hmm.
feel trapped in a lot of ways. And they end up, wanting to either escape, or they retaliate in some kind of way, or you guys grow further and further apart, or you end up resenting the other person because they're not giving you these things um, that you had expected them to give. You had these expectations going into this relationship, and when they start to not be able to fulfill that need, you end up resenting them as well. It really does end up breaking down the relationship, and that's a relationship should not be built on what you um, what the other person can give you,
Mm-hmm.
uh, what the other person has to give you for you to feel like a valid human being. The other person is not an extension of your worth.
Hmm. Right, right. That's an interesting quote right there. I mean, yeah, yeah. The other guy's not an extension of you. It's someone else totally. It's not a person entirely.
Right, but somehow these couples sometimes get enmeshed
Mm.
and can't, and there's some that are codependent where you can't live without the other one, and how is that healthy? That's
Right, right. So I'd like to backtrack a little bit, Shamin. You use cognitive behavior therapy in your sessions. What is cognitive behavior therapy? What's it all about?
Yeah, so cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is one of the most researched and evidence-based psychological treatment models.
Hmm.
And really, to frame it in simple terms, it really is about understanding the relationship between thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
Hmm.
So thoughts affect the way you feel, feelings affect the way you behave, behaviors affect the way you think, and vice versa. And you
Mm.
can't change one of those things without having an impact on the other two things. And once you really start to get an understanding of that and awareness of your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, you can then figure out ways to intervene so that you can make changes in your life. Now, you can't directly say, I'm not going to feel angry, or I'm not going to feel jealous, or I'm
Right,
not going to feel sad. But
right.
what you can do is change the way you're thinking about a situation,
Mm.
or changing what you're doing, and that can indirectly impact those feelings.
Right. And so, how might cognitive behavior therapy apply to like all the mess and all the, all the messiness that comes with dating?
Yeah, so inevitably, if you're struggling with dating, then you're going to have some thoughts about that. And those thoughts can really prevent you from either being able to connect with people,
Hmm.
or even getting out there, right? Your thoughts might be so overwhelming that you end up avoiding dating altogether.
Mm.
That behavior is then a result of those thoughts. And so if you can really get in tune with some of the thoughts and the behaviors and feelings that you're having that are causing you distress, that are causing you difficulty in dating, then you can then learn how to challenge those thoughts, restructure those thoughts,
Mm.
do things differently so that you can get different results.
Mm. So, can you give an example, Shaman, of like how this sort of thing takes place and how it can be, I don't know, diverted or changed?
Yeah, so say dating has become so frustrating for you um, that you have these intense negative feelings,
Hmm.
and you begin to think that maybe it's not worth it,
Hmm.
or you give up,
Hmm.
and then you end up deleting all of the apps off of your phone, and you
All
end
right.
up blowing up people who show you any interest, and you swear off dating altogether.
Okay.
You are doing the oldest trick in the book there, right? The most common strategy for anything that seems threatening is avoidance. You're
Right.
avoiding.
Right.
And so if you can recognize that, oh, there I go trying to avoid dating, and really my goal is to find somebody, I want to connect with somebody, I want to meet with somebody, and find somebody to complement my life, then you can go in and you can tell yourself, you can examine that thought, it's not worth it,
Hmm.
right?
Okay. Right.
And you can ask yourself, is that thought valid? It's not worth it. Is there some validity to that thought? Or is it just a thought? We all have thoughts. We have tens and thousands of thoughts every day, but not all of them are facts. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, most of them are not facts, they're just ideas. So if you're able to see that thought, it's not worth it, as an idea and as a result of your frustration, as opposed to it being a truth, then you can then challenge that thought. All right, I'm feeling really hopeless right now, and
Mm-hmm.
have some compassion for yourself. And then remind yourself, wait a minute, my goal here is to see if I can connect with somebody.
Mm.
it is worth it. There is value in that possibility of being able to connect with somebody. Now, how do I take care of myself when I start to feel that it's worthless? And you can start to strategize and you can start to figure out ways of managing those negative feelings and ways of coping with those difficult thoughts and feelings that you're having instead of allowing them to lead you and stop you from what your ultimate goal is.
Okay, well that's all right. I guess it's true then. Thoughts, feelings, behavior, it's all mixed up together, and changing the thoughts is the start of everything.
That's right. They're all interconnected.
Right, right. So, Shaman, you mentioned something called mindful dating. What is mindful
Yes.
dating all about?
Okay, so we talked a little bit about CBT. Mindfulness is really about understanding um, or being aware of what's happening in the present moment instead of being stuck in the past or focused on the future,
Hmm.
and then bringing that awareness of what's happening into the here and now, into your everyday interactions. And you being present in the here and now and aware of what's happening in the here and now, doing that in a non-judgmental way. Now, I say non-judgmental way, and I'll say it again, non-judgmental way, because I think that's one of the more important principles here. We might be aware of our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. We might be
Right,
aware of what's happening in the present moment, but
right,
we might criticize ourselves. We might judge ourselves for that. We might go, oh my God, why am I having that stupid thought again?
right.
Or tell yourself, don't think that, don't think that, don't think that. And this is about you learning to sit with those thoughts, be aware of those thoughts, be curious about those thoughts, and then not judging it, but deciding whether or not that thought is something that you want to go with or if you want to do something else. And that's where the power is in mindfulness. It's not about controlling, it's not about manipulating, it's not about changing. It's about letting things be and then being able to make choices as a result instead of being led by automatic pilot.
Mm,
And so mindful dating is a marrying of those mindfulness principles and those cognitive behavioral principles and bringing that awareness into your romantic encounters, using them to remain present and open to yourself and a potential partner. And that then allows you to get in touch with yourself and allows for you to be able to make a more genuine connection with the person who's sitting across from you.
okay, okay. So mindful dating. Okay. So I guess this is very different from like say, maybe when I go out on a date and then both of us are referring to our smartphones and our apps and our Facebook more often than we're paying attention to the other person.
Alex, I see that all the time. It drives me crazy. That's one of those other things that both men and women do across the board. We live in this very strange time where even, you might even incorporate your phone into the date where you want to show them, your Facebook page or your Instagram account. And that's not how you connect with somebody. Put your phone away, put it in your purse, put it in your back pocket. Even if you're not actively looking at it, every little ping, every little ding is going to
Right.
draw your attention away from the person who's sitting across from you.
Right. Okay. So definitely stay off social media if possible, I guess, and turn off your phone.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so Shaman, let's say, you came across someone, I'm sure you've come across these people. The kind who are getting tired of being in the dating game. They want to try something else. And let's say instead of one whole session with you, you only had enough time to tell that person one thing. What would be that one thing you would say?
If they want to change things up, I would tell them to approach their date from a mindful place. Okay, so I
Mhm.
know that's a very broad concept here, but I like to start every date with something I call tail dating.
Hmm.
So we all know what tailgating is. It's the pre-party before the big game. You
Right,
guys
right.
have the barbecue, or you go over a friend's house, or you're in the stadium lot, and you guys are all amped up, and you're having fun, and you're booing the people wearing the opponent's jerseys,
Yeah.
and you're really kind of just investing in getting amped up for the game.
Hmm.
Tail dating is the same thing, but you're doing the pre-party before the dating. And so really setting aside some time to really get in tune and connected with yourself. I like to do it by lighting some candles and having some nice music, engaging my senses, taking a nice hot shower, which is a very sensory thing, and can be a really great mindfulness activity. And inevitably, what's going to happen is I'm going to have thoughts that pop into my mind about the date.
Hmm.
And because I'm having those thoughts ahead of time, I can be aware of them when they pop up on the date. I can troubleshoot them ahead of time, and instead of trying to control them, really be curious about them and understand. Okay, I know where this is coming from. I'm not dating right now. I'm married, but I do the same thing before a date with my husband. If we had a fight earlier in the week, I don't want to talk about the fight on the date. But if it pops up in my mind when I'm tail dating, then I can say to myself, okay, if this pops up on the date, this is what I'm going to do, because I don't want to focus on this. I want to focus on connecting with my husband in the here and now. I want to focus on building our connection. So doing some kind of pre-dating ritual. I think setting an intention, it goes along with tail dating as well.
Hmm.
So if you know that you get nervous on a date and that things can get a little sloppy because you drink too much, you
Right.
set an intention of only having 2 drinks. And then you can kind of troubleshoot that ahead of time. Or if you know you tend to be a blabbermouth on dates because you get nervous,
Right.
set an intention of asking questions and showing the other person that you're interested in them. So set an intention. I also think it's really important to plan. If you are the one who is planning the date, then you plan ahead of time. You have the place planned.
Mm.
You make sure you plan for being gracious. If the other person is the one taking care of stuff, being thankful. I think a lot of times women have an expectation that the man's going to pay for everything, and that's fine if the man pays for everything. But if it's something that you just expect and you're not gracious, you're not thankful, that can be a turnoff.
Mm.
So I think that's something that you should do too. And then I always like to close it out with some kind of a self-affirmation exercise. And I like an I'm worth it exercise, one where you just kind of do some mindful breathing, and you remind yourself that you're worth it. You're worth the time, the attention, and the effort. And you go on your date from that place of being centered, of being focused, and being aware, and more in tune with yourself, and that allows you to be able to connect better.
Nice, nice. Okay, definitely. So it's all about, in other words, it's all about being connected to oneself before going out on the dating game then. So going out on a date, sorry, my mistake.
That's right. Yeah, I think, ultimately the message in this book is really about you investing in yourself, you
Mm.
taking the time to become more aware of yourself so that you can make sure you're not falling into the same patterns over and over again, that you're not creating some of the same situations over and over again, and that you can be the person that you are on the date instead of some representation of yourself, or instead of being who you think the other person wants for you to be, and then all the problems that come along with that.
Okay. It occurs to me, based on what you said, that this actually could apply to a lot of situations in life as well. Like uh, the boss who tries too hard, or the employee who tries too hard. Stuff like that. It has applications in other aspects of life.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Mindfulness, CBT, all of these principles are transferable in every area of your life for sure. Not just your relationships, but not just your romantic relationships, but yes, with your family members, with your friends, at work, um, across the board. You can become more aware of maybe how these interactions are not going the way that you want them to, or how they're problematic for you in some way, and you can learn how to troubleshoot them and have more genuine connections.
Right. Great. Fantastic. Okay. Great words. Great words of wisdom right there. So, yeah, it's a shame. I'd like to talk more, but yeah, we're drawing to a close. So, In closing, then, the book is Seeking Soulmate, Ditch the Dating Game, and Find Real Connection. The authors are guest Chamin Ajjan, and you can find her book on Amazon as well as in other big bookstores. So,
That's right.
Chamin, right? Thanks very much for being an author story. It's a real blast speaking with you.
Oh, thank you so much, Alex. It was my pleasure.
You're welcome. So, everyone, I invite you to go ahead and check out Seeking Soulmate. And while you're at it, you can subscribe to our channel if you want. So, bye for now, folks. I'll be back next time on our Author Story weekly interviews with another inspiring author.